Hello and welcome to Marketing Room 101, the podcast where I invite marketers to join me for a good old rant and I give them the chance to banish one thing from the industry forever. I'm your host, Ben Norman, Strategy Director at Principles, the agency that builds unforgettable brands, and I really enjoyed recording this episode because I got to interview my old mate Nick Eagle, the extremely talented yet shockingly humble advertising photographer behind some of the biggest campaigns for the most iconic brands in the UK, including the BBC, Sky Sports, the Premier League, the NHS and many more. I was excited to catch up with Nick because the thing that makes him a really great photographer, in particular a great portrait photographer, is the same thing that makes him the perfect guest. Because above all, he's just a really nice guy. No matter whether he's shooting A-list celebrities, chatting to me over a brew, or dealing with a client, he's always just himself and puts everybody else at ease. If you go and take a look at his work, it does really come through. So here's my conversation with Nick Eagle. Nick, welcome to Marketing Room 101.
Thanks, man. Happy to be here.
Good to have you in. So, Nick, now you're inside Marketing Room 101. Could you please describe what it's like in here to our listeners?
Oh, yeah, it's a nightmare, to be fair. I'm shocked that I've even turned up. No, I think this room is like an airport waiting lounge.
Oh, dear.
Where the plane just keeps inevitably getting delayed. And it's, it's not even like you're getting onto a nice plane. It's a Ryanair flight or something like that. And it's in an airport like East Midlands, Yeah. It's the least luxury environment that I could possibly think of. And we're on the way to not a shoot, it's a recce. It's a recce that could have been done with the pictures that the guy out there has already shot and sent me. I've turned down a really nice job today to be here. But, this is where we are and we're going to make the best of it.
So we're stuck inside the airport waiting lounge. Yeah. We're going from East Midlands Airport on a Ryanair flight to what sort of nondescript location do you think we're going to?
It's got to be somewhere out of a city, like agricultural, but not in a nice Lake District style way, more in a brown sort of field.
And it's probably one of them flights that's been delayed by 2 hours and 52 minutes, so you don't actually get any form of refund on it. You just have to suffer.
Exactly that. They just get you every time.
So, Nick, we first worked together, I think about 10 years ago it was, on a shoot that still sometimes haunts me to this day.
I think I might know the one.
It might be the reason why I moved out of account handling into strategy. So
right, nice. Glad I could help.
Literally anything that could go wrong did go wrong. This is the shoot where we were shooting summer for Halfords.
Yeah.
It was the middle of October.
Of course.
I had this idea that, because we got given a week to turn the shoot round, and it was like, shit, where can we shoot autumn? I was like, Sherwood Forest is mostly pine, so let's shoot there because they're not deciduous. And at the last minute, when hotels and everything were booked, we were banned from shooting at Sherwood Forest.
Right.
So we had to move to like some random local community park in the pouring rain. The models turned up and the kids couldn't ride bikes, which was literally the only skill they needed. I think at some point, even Dan, the creative director, got stuck in the back of a van and banged his head.
He did, yeah.
So these are my earliest memories of working with you. Now, there is a question in here, which is that common for you or only when you're working with me? And what's the sort of most ridiculous situation you've ever found yourself in on a shoot?
I mean, that is up there, Ben. No, these things are more common than they seem. I have been on an abundance of shoots that is like that. And quite often you are shooting out of season as well for things. So that brings its own challenges. In our case, a load of dead trees, trying to make it look like summer. But ridiculous situations. I think what I love about photography and advertising photography in particular is that almost every week I get thrown into a brand new world, which sometimes has its own set of problems like that one has, but also just, you go from doing something so absolutely ridiculous to something so unique to, learning about all these different worlds that if it wasn't for photography, I would have no idea about. And I know that's different to us on a shoot that sort of didn't work for one reason or another. But I mean, there's been so many different things. It's like one week you're shooting a documentary with Channel 4. We did one recently where we were shooting like Top Gun pilots.
Brilliant.
And it was like, I was asking these guys about their day to day when they were telling me about all these missions that they were going on over Russia. And it just sort of made me think people have real jobs, But how cool that I got to sort of meet those guys and spend a couple of days with them. And then you're sort of going from a shoot like that to one where you're working with someone like Jimmy Bullard. I've done shoots with Jimmy before, and like he just does his own thing. One minute you're trying to set the shot, the next thing he's pulling you on set and dancing with you. And then, you know, to go from that sort of shoot where it's like a documentary and it's real and it's serious to something like that, it is quite ridiculous at times, but I wouldn't change any of it.
I think that's what I've noticed from working with you. And I mean, most photographers I find tend to be personable people because you have to be, but I do think you do have to be able to just get along with people really quickly, don't you? You have to be able to. It's not just about being able to operate a camera and get a great shot. It's like, actually, how do I make this person feel relaxed in this scenario, which is usually completely nuts?
100%. I think that is probably more of the skill than the actual photography part. And I think the technical side of it, most of us in the creative world could learn and could create a nice looking image. But I think there's a difference between making a nice looking image or making someone feel relaxed enough in front of the camera that you get either a performance out of them if you're working with a comedian or someone like Jimmy or someone where you know you can pull it from, or some sort of level of emotion if you are shooting something more doc style. I think that side of it is something that I pride myself on and an area that I'm just constantly trying to evolve as well.
Yeah, and it seems to be evolving a lot in terms of what you're getting yourself into as well, the people that you're speaking to. Like, if I think back to that shoot that we had, where we're working with, you know, kids turning up who can't ride a bike to, you know, since that shoot, your career, it has exploded. It's almost ridiculous the sort of degree that it's gone to. And I think,
thanks, Ben.
Well, you've just shot a campaign for Paddy Power with Danny Dyer, I've seen. You've worked with the Premier League, shooting the likes of Erling Haaland. You've done a campaign with Jude Bellingham for Lucozade, the PG Tips Monkey, Gary Lineker, Gogglebox, NHS, BBC. Like, the list's huge. I guess when you think about that massive list of the people that you're working with now, the people that you have worked with, what do you think you're most proud of?
That's a really hard one, man. Like, I feel so fortunate when you read that out, by the way, because I don't ever sort of look and stare at my website or my client list ever. So when you sort of read that, it was quite overwhelming.
You're always just thinking, well, I've got to do this next week.
Yeah, you're always on your next project. So I'd never listed things like that. But yeah, most proud of a tricky one because it's sort of twofold for me, I suppose. There's two projects that spring to mind. I think the one from a career point of view was something we shot a couple of years ago for Sky Sports. It was the biggest out-of-home campaign Sky had ever done. So from that side of it, it was just unbelievable. And we were shooting elite sports stars in every different sport, essentially. So from cricket to football to tennis, and they were just everywhere. And that was just unbelievable because we shoot out of home. That is what we do. We shoot like above the line advertising stuff most of the time. But the sheer span of that campaign was just unbelievable. And I think that's one of the rare times after a shoot where I've actually looked back at it and gone, okay, I should be proud of that. You know, like rather than just moving on to the next thing, actually taking a minute to go, all right, I'll have that one. So from a career point of view, I think that. But then from a personal point of view, it's going to sound ridiculous after you're listing out some of that stuff. But the first time I shot with my club, Sheffield United, was just unreal for me, man. Like seeing my sort of heroes, I guess, printed and draped down from Bramall Lane on the first game of the season walking in was just, I've never had a feeling like that. And I've never seen like my stepdad seem so buzzing or proud of me as well for that.
Do you ever get intimidated? You're a lifelong Sheffield United fan.
Yeah.
And then you get to literally meet your heroes and work with your heroes as an equal. Like, have you ever found that intimidating? Have you ever found it intimidating shooting some of the people that you did on the Sky shoot? Or are you able to just pocket it off as I walk over the line and I'm now Nick Eagle photographer?
What's really funny is never with the celebrity stuff, or even like I'm well into my football. And even the first time we worked with like Haaland or Pep or something like that, there wasn't a fear of chatting to them. I'd chat to them the same as I'd chat to you. But then the first time I photographed the Sheffield United captain, Billy Sharp, I don't know why, but I had some sort of like level of anxiety the moments leading up to it. The minute he walked on set, completely fine. It disappeared and I've started shooting. But yeah, the build up to that shoot was terrifying just because of who it was and wanting to do it justice, I think.
So kind of on that subject, and before we get stuck in, because you're going to banish something soon, as I mentioned before, all these sort of people, these huge names that you've worked with, if you think about all those people, I want to know who's been the nicest.
The nicest? Do you know what? I'm going to go with someone bang recent, I reckon. Danny Dyer, you know?
Oh, really?
He was just unbelievably sound in every sense of the word. Wanted to do everything, wanted to help with everything, was unapologetically himself. I think throughout the shoot, what you see is sort of literally what you get. He's just like a local lad done well sort of thing.
So he is in real life a geezer.
Absolute geezer, yeah, like cool as fuck. Just really sound, like made you feel at ease and gave us a level of performance. But I'd say just as well as Danny is Sky presenter Michael Richards. He is the world's nicest
Bit of a
man.
Leeds legend as well.
Yeah, it's appropriate for where we are.
Yeah.
Just so nice. He's even put us forward for jobs. I'm so happy that he's had all the success he's had because he's one of those blokes that just fully deserves it.
I can't imagine that with Mika Richards it could ever be a front. Whereas I think that the Danny Dyer one, that I'm sort of glad to hear because, if you play like a bit of a hard man and a bit
Yeah.
But I guess he just is what he is, right?
Yeah, he's wicked mad.
Yeah. You are here because you would like to banish something from the marketing world forever.
Yeah.
And that time has now come. Please tell me what you would like to banish.
Okay, so it's more of like a term, I guess. And there's a few things under that umbrella that I can dive into. But essentially, it would be banning efficiency over quality with image making, okay? So people that are just trying to get something done quickly rather than do something properly, which I'm sure, in our industry, there is a mixed bag of people that do that and there's a mixed bag of people that do stuff thoroughly. But I think there's a few little things I'd like to get into under that sort of umbrella term, I guess. Yeah,
because I feel like when you're saying this efficiency over quality, I feel like this is a massive trend. Maybe it has been for like 20 years. It's not just specifically recent, is it? Like I can think of it in the world of video, in the world of media planning, in the world of image creation. It does seem to be a big theme in our industry. So I'm interested to know with you, what sits beneath it and why you've brought this to bear.
Well, I guess it would be the elephant in the room at the minute in our whole industry, which would be AI.
Yeah.
Obviously, I'm a photographer. So that's going to be very ever present at the minute. Now, I think the best way I can describe it is I relate it back to football.
Yeah, there's a theme.
There's a theme. And AI at the minute in the marketing and the advertising industry, for me, feels a bit like when football brought in VAR. And by that, I mean that at the minute, as things stand, I think both of those things are being overused.
Yeah,
I don't think either of those things are being used correctly. And I think the most frustrating part about both of those things are that it's all any of us are talking about at the minute.
It's just taken over the whole conversation, hasn't it?
Me and my wife both watch so much football. We have it on our telly every night. And I remember when Sheffield United were in the Premier League, me and my stepdad have been going for years. We'd go to the pub after a football match prior to VAR and we'd talk about everything. All the decisions that had gone for us, gone against us, the goals, everything. Now, when we were in the Premier League, we'd come back and we'd find ourselves talking about VAR only. So just one thing, it was boring. It sort of took something beautiful and sort of made it really mundane and dulled it down. Now, at the minute, you only have to open up LinkedIn or speak to clients or agencies or whatever, and everyone wants to talk about it. Understandably, there's a massive fear around it because it is unbelievably good and it is going to get better. But the reason I want to talk about it as opposed to banish it is that I do think, well, for one, I use it. There's a lot of plus sides to AI. I think it's a really good tool for photographers. I think it can help with image creation, but it should never replace that.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that's the main reason why I wouldn't banish it and why I don't think we need to fear it, because I think that it'll end up being what it is at the minute, but a better version of that, which is something to help us make even more amazing campaigns and images, but not replace people or humans by doing that.
So how do you use AI now, so day to day? Because I think that's quite surprised some people. I think everything these days, and this is something where if I ever did my own episode of Marketing Room 101, I think I would banish absolutism. Yeah. And it's like the idea that you have to be for or against something, digital or not digital. You have to be AI or not AI. So I'm kind of interested to know, like, your job is photography. Your job is shooting people with a camera yourself. Mm-hmm. So what are you using AI for in your sort of day-to-day and how are you using it?
Yeah, I guess I don't use it day-to-day. Well, there's little small parts of it that I might use in software when we're loading images in. There's ways to check focus or do a bit of skin treatment or stuff like that just on the day to make everyone feel more at ease. But that's like a quicker version of using it now. But it's more in like for the final ad, a lot of the stuff we do is big advertising images, sometimes quite comped, or we might be putting someone into a different world or a different background. Whereas, my retouchers would use CGI for that in the past, which again is not too dissimilar from AI in terms of it's creating something new to go with your images. So it might be like a portrait I shoot of someone in a studio, but then we CGI this sort of sky or space world around. So I guess people have started to use AI for that instead because they're getting really good results out of it. And I think there's uses like that for it, I guess, but I would never, and I would be so disappointed if the advertising industry ever went down a route of using it for the whole thing. It lacks that soul and lacks that human touch. I don't think it'll ever really have that either.
No. So if you were to say your pitch for why it's so important that we don't let AI take over the whole thing, what would you say is your sort of reason? What's top of the tree there for like why you need to be doing it rather than AI?
I think it's just humans hiring humans for one. And I know like there's loads of industries that's been replaced from for various things over the years. But I think it's like getting the human interaction that you can't get with AI. So like you said earlier, a photographer's job is making people feel relaxed and getting these moments. AI can create almost a perfect looking portrait. And probably in 18 months, it could go onto my website, type, make something like this and get something that technically looks pretty close, which by the way, heartbreaking after 18 years of doing this. But I've accepted that. Yeah. But I'd like to think you'd still want the person there in the room to get that authentic, natural, either laughter or emotional reaction out of someone. For other humans that view ads, know that it was a real moment that happened. I think that's so important, but we don't lose that connection because that's just terrifying. The idea of us not knowing what is real and what isn't.
I remember writing something recently about this. I think I used Honda's cog advert as an example. If you remember the ad, one cog knocks into a gear which knocks something over and then a wheel move, and it's like, you could make that with CGI. Yeah. You could make that with AI. Yeah. You could easily. But it works because somebody did it. In the same way that when you're watching a film and you watch a really emotive performance, we buy into the idea that something has happened in the real world, and that's kind of why we like it, don't we? And I suppose this comes back to your point about efficiency over creativity. If you'd gone for the efficient route with Honda's cog ad, it just wouldn't have worked. The end result might even be the same. But there's something in the idea that people know you've actually done it, in the same way that films with real stunts or real, people are in awe of the fact that actually happened and actually took place. And that's, I guess, the argument of efficiency and creativity, right?
It's exactly that. And with the film stuff, I'll give you some quick examples top of my head with that. Marvel films, when they first came out, everyone was obsessed. Everyone was fascinated by this CGI world that was really interesting and really beautiful to look at. And then they kept making the same film over and over, and we became a bit mundane to it. Yes, it's all impressive and the special effects are amazing, but it lacks any sort of substance and human side of it. The thing you said about stunts, my wife went and saw the new Mission Impossible film a few months ago, and they are super cheesy films, but the actor, Tom, has done all of those stunts, and there's something so awesome about seeing something that another human has done and put himself out there to do that makes you feel so connected to a film, which is equally as glossy in some ways or cheesy as a Marvel film, but there's those human elements to it and the bits that someone has really made or done. And I think that side of it is so important to keep. But AI is important and it's moving with the times, and I don't think you should be scared of it either.
So what else sits behind this? So we're bringing efficiency over creativity today. What else sits behind your thinking that you want to banish?
Yeah, so again, not banishing, but just something that was very, very different now to when I set my business up 14 years ago is obviously the social media side of being a photographer. It's almost like running another business at the same time as doing your business. And I'll start off by saying I am very active on all of them, especially Instagram. I've had loads of wonderful big campaigns off the back of it. So I'm certainly not laying in on it saying, let's put it away and lock it up. Yeah. That's why I've used more of an umbrella term rather than banishing AI or banishing social media. But what I would say is when I set my business up, I'll be sat at a desk for 8 hours, Googling agencies, finding art directors' names out, curating personal emails to each art director with select work that matched the agency's work, and then trying to get a meeting. And then if you got a meeting, you went in, you met a human in real life with a printed portfolio, crazy concept, and you'd instantly start building a relationship up with an art director before you've even worked with them. You'd get to explain the process of all your work, and it would just be this really nice part of my job, which there isn't loads of anymore. And now people are just going to people's Instagram, which is why it is really important. Like I said, I'm definitely not banishing it in the sense of it does lead to work and it's moving forward with the times. But the idea of the work that we had to go to even get a meeting before versus someone just scrolling and thinking you're okay because you've got 20,000 followers or whatever you'd have, it just seems like use it, but don't like replace certain bits of it as AI, if that makes sense.
So when we're thinking about this idea of efficiency over creativity, it's the idea that people are now potentially finding photographers, finding suppliers by not feeling like there's that need for what is like inconvenient, meeting someone in person.
Yeah.
Instead, just replacing that with having a scroll through your Instagram. It's like, I suppose it's efficiency over humanity as well.
Yeah,
it's
I think that's
understanding what sits behind, you talking through your portfolio compared to them just scrolling through some images. It's almost reducing what you do just down to something in a feed, isn't it? Rather than
like a low resolution.
Here's the story behind this image. Here's the story behind this shoot. Here's the story behind this person. But I suppose what we touched on earlier, that's what you need from a photographer, isn't it? You don't just need someone who can press a button.
100%. And like I said, I'm all for it, and I enjoy running my Instagram, and it is as important as keeping up to date with your website now. Like I said, when I was thinking about what to talk to you about this week, when I wrote down the sort of comments about AI or the comments about social media and stuff, I didn't want to seem like I'm not moving with it, because I certainly use both of those things and appreciate them. I guess it's just this podcast in general makes you feel quite nostalgic. Even though maybe it wasn't even better than it is now. Maybe now it's better than then, but it's one of those things that people always want to live in other eras, don't they, of life, that they didn't get to experience.
What's the saying? The older we all get, the better we all work.
Exactly. Yeah.
So always rosy looking back. So to flip that then, if we think about this trend towards efficiency over creativity, with finding people through social media, be it through replacing photography with AI-generated imagery, blah, 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 do you think that trend will continue as it is in a negative way, or do you think we're going to see a renaissance? Will we see pushback, do you think, against this trend towards efficiency?
I think so. I think you're already seeing it with elements of AI. I know there's been ads that have come out that have been made with AI that I'm sure people listening to this will have seen. And the pushback on that by so many people has been massive already. And I think that will only get more so in time if it does go down that route. But like I said, I really think that this is just a new era of advertising. It's not anything to be scared of. There'll be a pushback if it ever got to that, but I don't think it ever will. I think people will use AI for adverts. Some clients will choose it. Will there be less work because of it? Probably. We have to hustle a bit more. But I mean, this industry, if you're not hustling 24/7, you get forgot about anyway. Yeah. So it's just a new version of that, isn't it?
I think so. The thing that always comes to my mind is that AI can make average really well. So if you're making average work, then AI can probably take your job, or whether you're an agency, whether you're a photographer, whether you're producing video, whatever it might be. Because it literally creates the average, doesn't it? It absorbs everything that's out there and will create something that's in the middle. And I saw something recently that 85% of advertising fails to meet what they call the attention memory threshold. So 85% of advertising, people don't pay attention to it for more than 2.5 seconds. And
wow, that's depressing, man. That's from my whole life. That's unbelievable.
So you've got to pay more than 2.5 seconds of attention towards something for it to actually register and build any form of memory.
Yeah.
That means that if you're producing average, AI can probably do that just as well, but we're missing the bigger picture. The bigger picture is you've got to be aiming for that top 15%. If you're making average work, you've got a bigger problem than just AI taking it. It's not working. People aren't paying attention for long enough to remember it.
That's a mind-blowing stat, but not surprising at all. But yeah, I mean, that just gives you more reason than ever to push to do bigger and better things. But I think from my point of view, with my own photography, I'm constantly trying to evolve, constantly pushing it. Every style I get into a habit of shooting, I try to evolve yearly. And I think it's just constantly making sure you're at the forefront of people's attention. You're making great work. You're shooting personal work when you're quiet. And you're sort of wanting to make beautiful ads, which is what we all want to do.
Yeah.
So I don't think we should be scared of something, as you say, can just do the mundane.
Yeah, I think that's it. The bar has to get higher, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. I think it's something worth talking about. I know everyone is talking about it, but like you've just said, it's not going to replace us all. It will replace some people. When CGI first came out, I remember there was so many ads that were all CGI. Yeah. People weren't doing still life shoots anymore. They were just making it. And everyone was like, oh my God, still life photography's dead. And lo and behold, 18 months later, people got a bit bored of it and they started integrating it and using it as a tool as opposed to using it full time.
Yeah, and the same with whether it's the internet, whether it's CGI. We always have these leaps, don't we? And I think the CGI example is a really interesting one, because a lot of what I see now where people say, oh, I've managed to create this with AI without using, our industry's dead. Start looking for another job, train as a plumber. All this sort of stuff that you see.
Very LinkedIn.
But all of that stuff could already be done by CGI.
Correct.
So I am convinced. So what we're going to do is wrap it up as banishing efficiency over quality. In particular, the idea of not replacing the whole process, but AI replacing the human taking the photo.
Yeah.
And then also the idea of not just meeting someone in real life and getting to know them, instead just picking someone based on a social feed. How does that make you feel now that's banished from the industry?
Like I need to get sending some emails again. My Instagram post tonight is irrelevant. I like the idea of that, but I also am fine with where we are as well.
I think it's quite hard, isn't it? Because you're one of the most positive people I've ever met as well. So I'm trying to get you to come in and banish something, I think.
It was very hard.
While you're here, is there anything that you would like to bring back?
Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose this sort of ties in with our conversation so far as well. But I love face-to-face meetings, not Zoom. I'm fine with Zoom. I appreciate it for what it is, and it is very efficient. But I love when clients ask us to come in. If that's for a pitch or if for like a pre-production meeting, I would always rather spend the day getting the train and having those conversations in real life. And I think that was certainly something that has changed since the pandemic.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I couldn't agree with more. We do, at Principles, a 4-day working week. We give everybody a day off every week for free with no extended hours in exchange for everybody working every day in the office. And I don't want to sound archaic by saying that things get done better when you're in an office, but I just think, especially for a creative business, a creative industry, whether you're a photographer, whether you work in an agency, whatever it might be, the idea of actually talking through a problem and coming up with a solution in a room together, I just don't think you can quite do it over Zoom.
And it's really hard. It's just, especially when you're working with someone new. So like me and you on Zoom, I imagine we'll be fine. We've known each other for years. I don't have to work at getting my personality across to you, you know what I'm about. Whereas like if I was pitching for a job, doing a chemistry meeting, I find it really hard over Zoom compared to how I used to feel when I was having a brew with someone in a room.
Yeah, I think it makes such a difference. And I think it ties so nicely back into everything you've been saying before. Like a Zoom meeting would be called because it's easier. In the same way that finding someone from a social account is easier. Using AI to create an image is easier. All these things are easier, faster and cheaper, but are they better?
Good question. I'm not sure they are. And I certainly would take human interaction, as you said, and as we were chatting about earlier, I feel like you just bounce ideas off each other so much more organically when it's in person as opposed to on a screen.
Yeah, 100%. Now, I think you mentioned about potentially a couple of things to bring back. Was there another contender?
Yeah, and I guess, again, the theme of human interaction is at play again. But I don't know if this is because I'm older now. And my wife said this to me this morning. She said, I don't know if this is just because you're 36 now, not 24, which is a fair point. But there used to be loads more after work nights out. So a shoot would wrap, everyone would down tools, and you'd go out for some food. You'd go to a pub beer garden. You'd just almost celebrate the fact you've made something together and have a few beers. Or it doesn't even have to be beers if you don't drink, but just being out and socialising afterwards. Now, I seem to remember that being a thing that happened a lot. But like my wife said, it might just be that I'm getting a bit older. Maybe that is what it is. But
I feel exactly the same, but I'm also roughly the same age. So maybe that's it. But why do you think it's phased away?
I think it probably has a lot to do with how many people are working from home to a degree as well. I think because I used to go meet agencies and everyone was in the office, right? So everyone was there. So it's like, do you want to go for a beer? It's easy. There's a big group here. Since the pandemic again, maybe with the working from home culture, there's less like groups of people all together at once. Maybe that's part of it.
I always think the best pint is always the after shoot pint, especially when I was an account handler, the amount of stress going up to a shoot.
Oh man.
And then you get that moment of relief when it's done.
It's fine.
But also after a pitch as well.
Oh,
like post-pitch pint. In particular, what I always love is you're usually in a random location for these. You'll end up in some working men's club on the edge of like an industrial park in Derbyshire. That's the sort of joy of it all, isn't it?
It's awesome, man. Especially when it's more than like a one-dayer. When you travel, when you shoot abroad, I find this even more so. You become like a little weird dysfunctional family, but you're having so much fun with these people and oversharing far too much for someone that you've met 72 hours ago. But they're great. And I've met so many great friends through this industry and so many interesting, talented people. And it's like, those moments of going and hanging out with these people is cool. It still happens, but it's not as frequent.
There's maybe there's also a serious side to this as well for me, which is that's how you learn. You learn from, whether you said earlier about face-to-face meetings or when you're talking about just going for some beers after a shoot, getting to go for a pint or getting to be in a face-to-face meeting or being in the office and overhearing the conversations that are going on.
Yeah.
That's how I learned more than a training course or more than a formal agenda. You get those interactions that you wouldn't get if you were working from home.
And they're fun, and you're sort of sponging all that information upon you. You know, it's really exciting.
I think I can figure out a way to let you take both of these back into the industry. Do we describe it as just real life contact?
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to take away efficiency over creativity.
Please.
And we're going to keep that here in Marketing Room 101. You're going to return to the industry. What did I describe it as?
Just human interaction in real life.
Human interaction. Let's call it
human interaction is nice.
Right, so
we've got there.
You're going to distribute human interaction back. So before you go, it is time for this week's Brothers Question.
Favourite part of the pod.
Brilliant. So you know what it is. For the sake of the listeners, each episode, my brother who doesn't work in the marketing industry comes up with a question for my guest. This week he wanted to ask you, Nick, I understand you're from Sheffield. As a former resident, I have seen some pretty weird stuff. I once saw a person throw a full roast chicken to his mate in a third floor window.
Yep.
I once saw a guy in a kebab shop wearing night vision goggles and an army helmet. He claimed that he'd been discharged from the army, but they let him keep the gear.
Oh, my God.
I saw someone in a full suit in West Street Live checking his hair in the mirror, step backwards onto human feces and land in it.
Wow.
So I've seen some pretty strange stuff in Sheffield. What's the strangest thing you've seen?
First of all, he's not painting Sheffield in a great light, is he?
I must clarify, he was a student.
I mean, those stories add up, to be fair. And, you know, thinking on the spot here, there's a lot of different weird answers I could give. What I love about Sheffield, by the way, is that it is such a happy city where people just feel they can do this stuff, right? There's no real judgment there. Everyone's super chill, super friendly. It's such a nice place to live in, and I love it. So I'll say that to start. But I think the thing that springs to mind would be I just set my business up, and I was sharing a studio at the time in the city centre with another photographer. Well, I wasn't sharing, I was renting from him. And I'd go in on the weekend to shoot my personal projects. And I pulled in one morning, and it's like a bit of a business park, and there was quite a few sort of offices around there and like a joint car park in the middle. But no one was there because it was a Saturday morning at like 7 a.m. And I drove in, and there was a man stood in the skip that was in the car park, and he had a wig on that was like multicoloured giant perm sort of wig.
Like a Rainbow Brian May?
Exactly that. That's well put. And he'd got like a bright pink tutu, just that, with like some leg warmers on. And he was just sort of just gathering stuff in the skip. It looked like he was making something. And I sort of pulled in, and I was very aware that I was on my own and that I got a car full of very expensive kit. I didn't know how Skipman was going to be, if he was going to be friendly or not, or like what the interaction would be. But he just sort of looked at me. I said hello. He didn't say anything back. And he watched me unload the kit, but he was very conscious of doing the work he was doing in the skip.
Yeah. And he didn't want to be distracted from his work.
No, it was big work. It was big Saturday morning for him. It was a very Sheffield interaction. I felt like there was mutual respect between us both. And he turned up a few more times later down the week. He just sort of did his thing and everyone left him to it, which is the most Sheffield thing you can do, really. Definitely stood out as a weird non-interaction interaction.
I love that. Yeah, you just accept it.
Yeah.
What I will say, I mean, that's brilliant. What I will say is I also used to knock around in Sheffield a lot. So I will also say Sheffield is a beautiful place as well.
Thank you, dude. I love it. I'm very proud of it. I don't spend enough time there anymore because my agent has me in London most weeks, which is good. Yeah. But I absolutely love it. It's just a really cool, creative place.
So, right, Nick, how do people get hold of you if they want to work with you? What's the best place to go? How do they get in touch? And where can they see your work?
Well, obviously on Instagram. Yeah. Very topical. But yeah, it's Nick Eagle, as in the bird, photo, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. And then my website is just nickeaglephotography.com.
Nick, thank you very much for coming in.
Thanks, dude. Been a pleasure.
So that was my conversation in Marketing Room 101 with Nick Eagle. Thank you very much for listening. If you enjoyed it as much as I did, I'd love it if you could please send it as a link to just one other person who you think will enjoy it too. And if you've done anything recently that you feel guilty about, for example, if you completely forgot the birthday of a very close relative and still couldn't muster anything more than a 9 p.m. WhatsApp when you were reminded, then you can cancel out that bad karma in just 30 seconds by leaving a review of Marketing Room 101 wherever you get your podcasts. And finally, if you'd like to arrange a free chat about how I and the Principles team can help grow your brand, just find me on LinkedIn under my name, Ben Norman. And if you'd like to know more about Principles, just head to principlesagency.co.uk.